They said that it is to punish people involved. They know I'm not involved. So whatever this was as a punishment, it violates, first of all, it violates our um, rights as American citizens. You're not supposed to in any way punish people this way. It's nothing but embarrassment. It's about shame. It's about blame. Secondly, I have First Amendment rights. I'm a U.S. citizen. They said they couldn't understand why I made a difference in terms of people who don't have citizenship and people who do have citizenship. As an American citizen, I have a right to privacy. I have a right to not have my not be falsely accused of crimes and have a decade-long investigation into every aspect of my life, not to be cloned, not to be used in books, not to have my name or likeness used, not to have this my First Amendment rights violated where I can't speak freely. They keep saying, don't say this, don't say that. This is America. This is Juneteenth. Happy Juneteenth. We fought for these rights. These rights aren't given to us. So when they keep talking about fighting and how I'm fighting so that this never happens to anyone again. They said the technology they used was supposed to surveil me in my home. It was supposed to be remote neural monitoring, which is a fraud. That's a scam. But the monitoring part isn't. So monitoring me 24/7 to look for a crime that you then think you're going to be able to report is a crime. They said, why didn't I want to shut up about how they set up celebrities and that I'm aware of? Because that's a crime, okay? It's a crime. So we're looking for crimes. I'm naming all the crimes. I'm giving a list of crimes. Why are we looking for other crimes? Let's focus on the crime of this. If the voices require surveillance to make victims think they're hearing voices in their heads or have a little voice telling them stuff, just, before this happened, the thought of that was common. Like a lot of people say, oh, I heard a little voice. But once you realize what the little voice does, you're like, how the F do we let this happen to so many people for decades? So if we're looking for a crime, this is the crime. We don't have to go back to when I was in the crib or when I was in elementary school and twist little things. We don't need to clone me. We don't need to predict what I'm saying. Let's focus on the actual crime that's being discovered right now. So for decades, there were people who said, I heard a little voice that said, common phrase. The fact that I can say that and people are like, that's weird, is it was common. But it isn't common with how it was done. It was done by surveillance. It was done by radio frequencies, regular frequencies, beats to put people to sleep. And now, or it could be I want to look there. I'm afraid. I don't understand. How did this slavery continue? They said because in their communities, they said, there it is. Yes, and I'm going to say it. If you can be in your apartment listening to me and interrupting what I'm doing, then what you want to say, you want to be heard. I'm giving you an ability to be heard. They said in their communities, if they don't like someone, they monitor that person. The Stasi did that. These are communist tactics. If you don't like somebody, don't engage with that person, don't surveil that person, don't stream radio frequencies in and install microwave technology to watch the person, don't stalk the person, yell out so that you could be heard over that other person, because what you're doing instead is showing who you are. So the problem with this was that they were trying to show we're connected. Why would I be yelling through walls at people I'm connected with? I have nothing to do with any of these people at all. I have nothing at all to do with any single person involved in committing this crime. It's the worst crime you can do to another human being, because it, one, involves not letting that person ever have a moment alone. The second thing it does is gaslighting. They're funding international gaslighting of people to claim that this doesn't exist, when there's more than enough proof out there that it does exist. There's more than enough proof that if I had been committing any crime, they would have reported me. I'm the person calling the police. They keep saying something with a family nickname. I don't know them. You're not allowed to pretend you have a relationship with me to cover up a crime. So what I'm saying is this is a cover up. It's a criminal organization trying to use me as the face of some mythical technology that they say involves seeing things remotely while you're sleeping. They sit and create computer AI generated quote unquote dreams. It requires such a high amount of exposure to horrible technology that when they tried it, and I have proof in 2019, there's a whole playlist, I woke up perspiring. My face was swollen. I was like in another world. So they said, why didn't you get up during this time and go around looking for people? Now, when I'm 100%, back then I tell you I wasn't 100%. They're denying it and gaslighting me. Do you think back then when I looked like a crazy person, sweaty, wondering what was going on, they said, you don't have any proof. I had the aluminum foil that mysteriously got holes in it, sizzling sounds, something hitting the aluminum foil. I have a cookie tin here and I'm going to tap it, okay? That's what it sounded like. It sounded like something was raining on me. I wake up at night right now and it feels like my head is something's it has to be overhead. And it's like a weird sound. So we're talking about biggest crimes on earth that the people involved are trying to cover up by yelling stuff out instead of calling the police and saying, my neighbor is doing a YouTube live stream and it's bothering me. That would be easy. But instead to just shout stuff out and act like you own the building is not right. We're talking about something where if you make it a neighbor dispute, then it makes more sense. But this seance, voices, doesn't make sense. But they don't want it to be a neighbor dispute because then it confirms everything I've been saying. This was about getting me to move, harassing me and bullying me out of my apartment. If you make it that, it's illegal. If you make it seem like I'm a mentally ill person, then I would just up and leave. Well, why would I do that? It wouldn't make any sense. So in order to come up with a fantasy, it becomes, well, we're creating dreams where your neighbors watch you all day and then need to be ridiculous by trying to explain. But when you start to say, well, that really isn't what's happening, is it? It's surveillance, it's technology to surveil you because they can't see through walls, can they? No, but their technology that they're developing can. And once they perfect this technology, they're going to spread it to other people, which becomes why every time I do something to cover up something or move something so they can't see, they get upset and start banging. They start yelling things out. Another big deal about this is that when they were saying that, they needed me to talk about this, they started talking in terms that would make people seem mentally ill. So the thought was that I was going to come on here and say, it's this, it's that. No, I'm trying to deliver the message of what they're saying to prove that I'm not hearing voices in my head. I'm hearing people talking and they're around me, but also that they're setting me up. And if they have to wait 52 years, I'm going to be 53 in December, to find a crime and still can't find a crime, then there was no crime. Then they switch it so fast to, no, we want your life story. Well, I like my life story too, because that's how I make money. So now you're going to try to compete with me with my life story? You're going to make videos of my life story when my life story is what I make money on? I do YouTube videos, they shout in my YouTube videos. I work for companies, they start to stalk me at the companies. I need my internet, they start to steal my internet to create all of this. I live here for 28 years, they move here. So what can I do without them? What can an American citizen do when people involved in this are committing crimes, like bringing people from other countries and using American citizens' identities? Where is the justice? Where is the Constitution? It's ridiculous. They said they want me to fight to stay here so that they can latch on to my case. How is that even possible? It's all about that. It's all about, I do what we need to do. They said they want to keep us even. So you mean to tell me that as an American citizen, I have to be kept even with people committing crimes against an American citizen? So I can't do a broadcast without them. They control when I end my videos. They shout things out through the walls. They use technology to spy on me. Yes, that was their word, spy on me. Because I usually call it stalking, like most Americans. They're stalking me. But we gotta be together. So when I'm saying that this is true and this is real, and thousands of us now are saying it's true and real and why they're doing it, you mean to tell me I'm offending them? I'm an American. I have these rights. When my rights are being violated, I need to know where it was authorized, because warrants, that's a word that we haven't been using. If there's any investigation, there needs to be a warrant. Again, I'm not foreign. I have rights. If people are allowed to move into a building with a wait list, as long as River Bay's wait list, to be around one specific person, we need to have that investigated. So if we're going to talk about criminal acts and investigations that are needed, that's another investigation that's needed. How can people suddenly live in a building that has a wait list? They try to say, well, you can sublet. Subletting is illegal here. So we're talking about a whole lot of things that had to go wrong in order for this to happen to me. One too many things had to go wrong. And I should be ashamed to feel that I have should put me in a this. Then try to trap you in to do a crime, like accept packages. They wanted me to accept packages for other people, which could have gotten me into so much trouble. They tried to cover that up by saying, well, they used the name Naomi because maybe I used that name. I have not used the name Naomi. They said maybe it's because of the last name that they used, Jones. Again, I have proof about that, but I'm going to let them keep spinning this, keep twisting. The more they keep twisting and twisting, they're giving away their mindset. So they at one point said, oh, I mean, this isn't making sense, but the process we're watching now is how a criminal organization twists facts and twists things to set victims up. So suddenly I'm ordered a package under a mystery name from a business that doesn't exist. The business doesn't exist. So I have this ability, while I'm being monitored by people who admit they hate me, to create a business, send a package under the name Naomi Jones, and they don't say anything. That's strange. So they said, didn't I say online it wasn't a business? It's not a business. So that's a whole other issue. But you see how they departments to set up a petition to sue River Bay, which would involve a whole lot of other nonsense. They said, what about the PPP loan? The PPP loan that I should apply for a PPP loan for how much? $1 million. Because Cup of Jar Productions could be valued at that. Now, when I was doing the videos about this, they said we would have someone at a bank who would give you that valuation. But it would entail me employing people like them. The money would have already been spent, named, and find out more about us. The people that they named, it wouldn't make sense to have been involved, because had they been involved, the stories would be accurate. Then I would be the person bringing more people into this. It's like it was supposed to be would have been the biggest scheme during one of the seances at night, which is partially what I'm saying. When this happened to me around the same time the Havana syndrome thing happened, and they knew, and that's what I'm saying. The Havana syndrome is connected to this technology, and they didn't want me to say it. They got really upset, but I said it. And this is partially what I'm arguing. I'm arguing that if Havana syndrome happened in the US, unlike the reports out there that it only happened in China and Russia, Americans have to know this. This is an American issue now. It's not an embassy or CIA victim issue. It's an American issue. And I wonder, why don't they want us to talk about that as American citizens? Because I think that when this first happened, it was described as just a sound. They said like cicada. And they said it was like a weird sound you hear. And they started to play that sound in my apartment, I guess to kind of confuse me. So the next part of that is I started looking into, well, why is this happening? Because it wasn't happening before, which proves it wasn't happening before. And as I started doing more research, the technology was the same. And I did a tweet in 2019 that said using radio waves or microwaves, and it's similar to the military grade technology that was used in China. And someone replied and started, explaining. And I put those tweets up on this YouTube channel. And when I started to get sick, I said, boy, a lot of this seems to be connected. It all happened around the same time, which is why it's so important that they stop changing the time frame. When they wanted to change the time frame, it was way before Havana syndrome. So what I'm wondering is, why would they want to change the time frame? Because I think they didn't want the American citizens to know that Havana syndrome is happening here. So now they're having a conversation. So when I was looking into all of this, and there was a person on Twitter who sent a tweet out that said the CIA victims of Havana syndrome described hearing voices. And one particular video had a woman who worked overseas. I can't remember what country. And I don't know whether she had the voice in her head, the little voice in her head in this country or there. And she said she was washing dishes, looking out the window in her kitchen. And she heard the little voice say, "Get off this spot, move away from this spot." And she did. People, see if I can find it. That clip came from another targeted individual who found proof that the little voice is connected to this whole thing. So now we got people who hear voices, people who got sick, people who, what was the other connection? People who hear voices and people who got sick. So the idea of hearing voices now isn't seen as a mental issue. It's seen as, in some cases, they're saying that it could be normal, but it's also seen as a medical condition. So all of the things that I'm telling you, targeted individuals exposed, the people doing this to me are trying to hide. They don't want Americans to know that this happened in this country and that they're hiding this information. So what do? They start adding all these other things in. And that goes back to the bigger issue I'm telling you. There are no dreams coming to my head. This was meant to slowly kill me, get me too sick to even try to work. Every time I try to work, they sabotage me. So now as you can see, I'm trying, I'm doing the best I can. And they said, oh, maybe the reason your voice slurs and you get sick, and I'm getting sick and it's not even half an hour into this, is because you're nervous. My career was built around talking to people. That was another lie that they came up with, that I get nervous talking to people. And how was I working? They said, oh, in college, you seem like you were nervous talking to people. No way. I've shown you proof after proof after proof. I've worked as talking to people. In school, we had to do speeches and stand in front of the class. I was a baton twirler in parades. There was no way I was nervous in front of people. So partially, this was also exposing that this has nothing to do with nerves. I was being made sick. They were looking to investigate me, to discredit me, which is something I've said early on. They said, show me a video. This is what the people doing this said. Show me a video where you said you were under surveillance. In 2019, I said, I'm being stalked and harassed in my apartment. In the video, I said, everything I do, they're talking about, which proves it was happening. It's been documented. I don't have to keep going over the same thing over and over and over again, which is partially how they were going to make me look mentally ill. They were going to make it seem like I have some sort of mental problem. These are the symptoms. Look at the video. She has this symptom. Again, this is something that's happening in this country. And the more this is getting exposed as something that has to do with foreign people, I think it was a setup, not just for citizens, but for this country. Thank you for watching.